Our next speaker is Dr. Jim Pillen. He's the owner of Pillen Family Farms. He grew up on a farm in Platte County, Nebraska, and raised pigs with his father. Has a BS in animal science from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and a DVM from Kansas State University. In 1983, he returned to the area, opened a small animal practice and a swine vet consulting practice, and partnered with his dad on a 60-head sow farm. He's a second-generation pork producer and formed Pillen Family Farms in 1993. This business has grown to a premium pork producer with over 1,100 team members. And in 2003, he purchased a swine genetics supplier, DNA Genetics. We've asked Dr. Pillen as a consumer of pork genetics to share with us some lessons learned from the pork industry and genetics. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Pillen.
Well, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Awesome. Well, I was really impressed watching and listening to the last presenter. Most of the time we get so wrapped up in our world and that little thing called a phone that we're watching and we're engaging and we're trying to multitask and do about three things at once. I have 4 children, 7 grandchildren, and my youngest son is 17 and my older children are 40, 38, and 36. I find it really fascinating going to ball games, watching my young son play and watching what parents do a lot of the times. And it's really amazing. It's really amazing how technology is so awesome, but how technology is so bad. It's amazing to me how many parents miss the most extraordinary things that go on because for some reason, through most of the afternoon, there's things on this phone that are way more important to be looking at and looking down. So I might ask you, I might share this with you to maybe help you stay with me. I'll give you all I have. And I don't know if you'll learn very much from me today, but I'll give you all that I have. But this is one that I think for communication, it might help all of it. It's helped me immensely. And it came from a very, very high academic standard that I learned. It's called communication, called 73855. I learned this from a Mormon feed salesman a long time ago. 73855. 7% of communication are the words we use. 7% are the words we use. 38% is how we say it. Good morning or good morning. And 55% is our body language. So today when we have miscommunication, if we're doing it all via text or if we're doing it all via email instead of eyeball to eyeball, it kind of gives us an understanding about how we can really make an impact. So I would encourage all of us to think about if you got anything out of this today, 73855 about communicating. It's really, really important. The other one I'll share with you in terms of getting into the genetics business. It's been an unbelievable, awesome experience, but I've said it many times. It's been exactly like raising a family. If you had any idea what it'd take to raise a family, you'd never have the courage to do it. But the rewards are so unbelievable. And that getting into the genetics business is the same way. If we had any idea, we probably wouldn't have had the courage, but the rewards are incredible. When we got into the genetics business today, in the pig genetics business in North America, we're the longest held owned company in 19 years. Everybody else in that time frame has either gone broke, consolidated, or been bought by somebody else. So competitive, tough business. And I'll just try to share some principles and focus of what's helped and meant a lot. We'd be the only family-owned, only pig producer-owned genetic supplier. And I'll hope to be able to share a few things. I'm going to just pop through a few different slides. History kind of was said. I started farming with my father in 1983, and we had 60 sows on a dirt lot. We formally formed, we've built an early ISO wean farm and started selling wean pigs in 1994. We got in the genetics business in 03. Today in 2021, we've also gotten into the pig processing. We're part of a group of families that have purchased the Hormel farm, or the Hormel processing plant in Fremont, Nebraska, with 200 other families, and it's been an awesome experience. A couple things I'll share that's really important for us is our core values, culture, and our core values and our principles. One thing we try to do, we make lots of mistakes every day, but we empower and innovate. Our teams are innovative and they're empowered to make decisions. We're process-oriented, but not protocol-oriented, if that makes sense. It's really important that everybody has free rein to make decisions. The goal is that every decision we make, that we make it on the basis of, is that the best I can do? Is it right? And is that the way I'd want to be treated? Still means we make a lot of mistakes, but if we make our decisions with thumbs up on those principles, we can play winning ball, and we can do really well. Our culture's innovation, our culture's family oriented. Our team members can compete with anybody in the world. They work hard as heck. They don't miss family events. It's really, really important, and we're all one family. The greatest reward I have today, when I talk to our team members and ask them, what's the greatest thing about your work? 100% of the time they say it's the people I work with. I don't need anything more. And then team oriented. Nobody's worried about who gets credit. It's the greatest team. Nobody's worried about the recognition. We are a farrow to finish. So in the pig business, isowean technology came about in the mid 80s when a guy by the name of Hank Harris figured out the maternal antibody shell. I was fortunate. I was on the early stage of a young veterinarian trying to help figure out how to make that work. And it's the real deal. And still, disease in the pig industry is a big problem. We're having a wave of PRRS issues across the industry that we haven't seen in a long time. So our system's a little different. We're focused on people, assets, and feed, and square footage, and creating efficiency. So we own our assets. We'd be about 75, 78, 80,000 commercial pigs. We'll raise right at a couple million market pigs. So we own our nursery, and we are nursery and finish. We went away from wean to finish solely on feed conversion issues and creating a better environment and a focus of more expertise to certain areas. And we've gone to, in 2010, we were about 1.1 million pigs. We're encroaching on 2. We had a long visionary goal that we are embarking on that started about 10 years ago, and that would be that we measure selling on pounds per sow per year. So we are right at selling 4 ton or 8,000 pounds of pork per year per sow. So that's an efficiency. That's one that, that it's extraordinary what's taken place in that regard in the last 25 years. And pigs per sow per year, it wasn't very long ago. If we were doing, when we started building some of our farms in the early 90s, we set them up for 23 PSY. Today we've got farms doing 32, 33. So the growth is off the charts. I was just looking at some numbers early this morning, and all of our sow farms last week had total borns of 17 pigs, born alives of over 15 pigs per sow farrowed. So the productivity of what these animals have done, and it's not by accident. The other pieces of our business is milling. Making feed for the pig is a big deal. Once we reached a point where we could mill we mill 90% of what we feed. And when we changed to buying our corn direct from farmers, every bushel of the 20 million bushel a year that we buy direct from farmers. No grain merchandising. Quality is everything. Quality for the pig is everything. And it's a big deal. Transport and biosecurity. The goal was not to have to do that, but it became a necessity, all because of biosecurity. Who we sell to, we sell about 40% to ourselves at Holstone. We would sell about close to 50% to a plant that we've been delivering pigs to since I can remember, at Madison, Tyson plant today, and at Crete and Smithfield. Holstone Farms has really been a fun adventure. That plant, in the end, it was an old plant that hadn't had any assets spent on it. Hormel's strategy, I use one word to explain Hormel once I learned more about them, is I use the word holy guacamole. And Hormel owns Holy Guacamole, and they have become a global branded company, extraordinary vision and extraordinarily tremendous business, having an impact around the world. The Hormel plant had half of it was processing, making Spam and processed hams. We're retrofitting the plant, rebuilding the plant, and our plant will be a double shift plant where we'll process right at 21,000 pigs a day. It'll be close to 5.5 million by 23. And yeah, just the different phases, won't need to go into there. And you kind of see on the left what the old plant looked like, on the right what it looks like today, and making progress every day. Here's what we're here for, and our genetics business. So pig genetics business in one breath is really, really simple, and in another breath it gets pretty complicated. But the goal's been to keep it simple. There's a couple things that we've done that is really, really important. The first thing in the pig genetics business is one word trumps everything. One word trumps everything, and it's the health. It's the health. If you have a disease problem, you're out of business. So we figured out in Nebraska, the pig industry when it started changing from family farms and horse barns like I grew up in, when they started building 440, 500 sow farms, Nebraska had a number of those be built in different areas. So what ended up taking place, we've bought a lot of old farms that were built in the 70s because they were tremendously isolated and no other pig production in the area. It's really been a very, very good strategy for us, where then we have our Nucleus herds where all of the measuring and all the data and the genetic improvement is made. They're in different places across Nebraska and South Dakota, in very, very isolated spots, smaller farms, so you can put a great team of people together that can work as one and have tremendous accurate data. And we have our nucleuses duplicated so that when one goes down, when one does get health, if it has a health problem, we never run out of product and we never lose making genetic gain. We cannot lose making genetic gain. If you don't do that, you're out of business. So we have roughly 8,000 purebred animals, if you will. We have 5,000 Duroc sows located on, I think, 7 or 8 different farms. And then we have our maternal line. So our simplicity in our genetics business has been to stay on 3 lines. For 20 years, all we've worked on is a large white and a landrace mom. And then we've worked on a Duroc boar, and I'll get into that. The other thing I think that's made us very, very unique in the industry, and all of you can correlate to collection and collection efficiency and production we call them gene centers, but boar studs. So the industry before we got in had lots of contract boar studs. So if you owned a boar stud and you were producing semen and you got paid by the dose, what was most important to you? Getting the volume out. Who produces more semen, a young bull or young boar and a young bull, or an old bull and an old boar? So you see where extraordinary conflict of interest arose really quickly, kind of like manure applicators. Manure applicators like to get volume out because they get paid by volume, but spend a lot of time agitating those pits isn't in their DNA. They're not fired up about that. Same way with boar studs. So we quickly realized if we were going to provide the best product in the industry, we had to control, we had to own, because we turn our boar studs more aggressively than anybody, because whatever the best boar is today, he's not that very long if we're doing a great job with genetic improvement. So we have tremendous rollover of our gene centers and the customers that have gene centers. So they're always getting the best boars to have the influence. Um, the other would be that the industry has had what they call Bohr multiplication systems. We believe in testing every animal, and every animal is genotyped. So it has an EBV. We know exactly who it is and where it comes from and what its value is. So those have been things that have been game changers for us to have tremendous market growth in a short period of time. You know, the things we focus on, it's all about the economics of how we get paid and how we make money as producers. So the loin depth, feed efficiency, growth rate, feed intake. The picture on this is kind of fun. I think that farm is about 7 years old now. And this farm, what we do is we bring 200 baby boars from our 10 different Nucleus gene farms every week. So there's little vehicles that'll bring maybe 20 and 30 every Thursday morning. And they come and they get an electric chip in their ear, and they're all coming from half sibs across the entire system. So we can, and at this farm, what gets me fired up, at this farm then, we get about 25,000 bytes of data every 24 hours telling us exactly how many times this boar ate, how much feed it consumed, and then what its growth rate is. So the really, really smart folks in this room then say that by doing this, we can get an animal to the same weight and decrease the amount of feed needed by 7 pounds per year. So if you think about carbon sustainability and decreasing the carbon footprint, creating more with less, like all of us have to do, that one really gets me fired up, because in the end, in 10 years, we're using 1.5 bags less feed to get our pigs to the same market weight. And that's what it takes. That's what I believe is our responsibility to do and make a great impact. So those are things that are really, really exciting about it. Where we're at today in North America, we would be the second leading supplier. We have we're encroaching real close on 50% of the market share on our Duroc boar. And then we have about 20%, maybe 23 today, percent market share in the maternal line. We have stayed focused. We had a huge advantage. We made a decision because of meat quality and what made sense for us as a producer way back yonder when we got in the genetics business, because we thought that's what it would take for us to stay competitive as a pig producer. And we believed in the Duroc and we stayed focused on it. So what really happened would be somewhat like what happened in the cattle industry. Is that 35 years ago when the Black Angus became the king daddy? So the pork industry, this is an amazing number to me, but in 1990, so let's just say 30 years ago, we were a net importer product of 7%. Today we are a net exporter of 27%. So almost a fraction over a percent change in market share. So what started taking place 7-8 years ago is the export consumers started saying, the only product we're going to buy from you, we care about meat quality, we care about intermuscular fat, and the best intermuscular fat was the Duroc. And so what took place is all of a sudden, everybody that's in the export market, and everybody in the export market is whoever's processing pigs, started saying these synthetic lines, all these things that had taken place to change the pig through the 90s was not going to work no more. So there were a lot of publicly traded companies that were making a lot of synthetic lines, making market genes, all sorts of things going on for a number of years, which in my estimation was totally wrong for the industry. So we stayed focused on one thing. That's proved out. The other thing I guess I would share that's really been a big deal would be our people. And how many full-time geneticists in the room? Okay, so as a geneticist, right? How much time do you spend scrubbing the data to make sure the data is accurate? Because if you're the world's greatest geneticist and you got data that's not accurate, it's pretty tough to be a very effective geneticist. So we learned a long time ago that the key is accurate data. And our teams can compete with anybody in the world on the accuracy and mistake-free and the commitment to that quality of getting the data. And so that helped us create a Duroc that really special. And his numbers have been significantly better than anything else. And as the market demanded Duroc, our business has really grown. So it's been a big deal for us. So lessons, and I guess that's so in 2003 there was one integrator that had 20% of the market, and that was 20% of the 30% Durocs. Otherwise, the rest of the industry only had 10% or less Durocs. So it's changed today. Today, that's 80% Duroc sired, and in the next 3 to 5 years, it'll be 98%. It's just where it's going. So so all of the other synthetic things that have been produced, and you can see why that's so difficult and why a lot of people went out of business if they were going down a path that is no longer desired, and they put all their marbles in those baskets. It made it very difficult. Totally demand on meat quality, and you know, early on, the Duroc bore didn't have some of those efficiencies, and that's why producers gravitated. It was all about production efficiencies. And the competition was Pietrins and Hemps and synthetic lines. The meat quality of the Durocs what drove. Yeah, so as we like to say, when you have 5 pieces of bacon tomorrow morning, we would have in that 2 to 2.5 strips out of 5 influence in North America. Have you all heard the difference at breakfast between the chicken and the cow and the pig? Have you heard that one? Anybody? So yeah, it's kind of fun. For those of you that haven't, the cow and the chicken are participants. The pig is committed. The pig is all in, right? So, so yeah, so the growth of the 600 line. Let's the nucleus, the growth of the nucleus, and that's the key in the pig genetics business. If you have a larger nucleus, you can make more genetic progress. So we have right at 5,000 6 Duroc nucleus sows, and I guess getting to it here's biggest thing for us is sticking to the fundamentals. Pig producers have a very high demand, and the demand is really simple. They have to be delivered. We as producers, I have 2 hats. We have genetics, but we're producers. And I've always told our geneticists, we're going to use, the margins are so slim in the genetics business, raising pigs, we're going to use the best boar in the world, whether we have it or not, because we can't afford not to. We can't afford not to. And so the genetic gain, one of the things I'm really proud of what our team's done is we have earned every customer. We are not ones that have gone out and bought companies to grow market share. We've earned it by genetic progress. And it's a fascinating one if you think about it. Genetic progress every day, every year, year after year after year. That's what producers expect. Companies that can't do it go out and buy market share to try to grow their business. And then because they don't know how, they don't have the discipline to do it, they have to continue on. So who would you rather do business with if you're a producer? Company that can make genetic progress day after day, has that discipline, that culture, or have to go out and buy more market share. So it's nobody wants to use the second-class genetics. Used to be that there were producers that maybe weren't as sophisticated and got wowed by nice fishing trips, got wowed by nice hunting trips. We've never done one of those, and we've just focused on making the best pig. The genetic gain, it's predicated on how you measure the traits and how accurate you do with it. You know, to win, you got to have a system that addresses all the goals. So the larger nucleuses, we have more animals, we can measure, we can have higher accuracy, less breeding. So we're in that 5,000, 1,400 landrace and 1,400 Yorkshire sows. And I talked about it, but the accuracy, every pig, every measure. You know, it's amazing to me how much measuring we do. So every pig that is born in the almost 8,000 sows, every pig that's born has a birth weight. Every pig that's born, if it dies, it has a weight. Every pig that's weaned has a wean weight. Every pig that comes out of the nursery is weighed and has a weight in. Every pig has a weight out. And then the measurements of the back fat and the loin depth and so forth. So lots of information. We're adapting more and more technology to improve the efficiency of it and the accuracy of it. In the end, to play this game, there's just no shortcuts. You have to stay committed to what you can do. And I guess our objective would be, if there's something we can't execute 365 days a year, there's no sense in doing it. It has to be executed 100% of the time. And the measurements are the whole name of the game. Again, I talked about simplifying our program, and you know, we are not everything to everybody. My dad taught me a long time ago that you can't worry about plowing every 40 in the neighborhood. You got to focus on what you can do and be the best at it you possibly can be. That's what we try to do here. F1, when we got into the business, there were a lot of different female crosses. We were a believer that by only staying focused on F1 cross, that is the way for a producer to be most profitable. That drove dramatic change within the industry because that's what made producers more money. Maybe not for genetics companies, but for producers it does. And the key is whatever genetic improvement we make, it has to be pounded down into the commercial rate as quick as possible. And that's where talking about what we're doing in gene centers and what we're doing with measuring every animal, we take a lot of that genetic lag out. We've implemented genomics. We've had that in now maybe 5 or 6 years. And one of the things that's really fascinating, it's unbelievable, the improvement in the accuracy. And it took this pig farmer a little too long to fully understand the impact of genomics. But you know, one thing that's interesting is there's people that are saying, well, we've implemented genomics, so that makes us the best. Well, no, what genomics does is if you've got a herd of boars that are at this level and somebody else has a herd of boars that are at this level, that'd be our boars, by the way. Anyway, these boars stay here. You just improve the accuracy of who's the best boars. And by improving the accuracy, then you get the best boars. You don't make any mistakes to your customers, to making your genetic progress. So it's a big deal. And all of our sires come from Nucleus. Again, we don't do any multipliers or anything that can, speed is everything. Speed and health is everything. You know, I think the other thing that's, I'll just share a couple minutes with, I would assume everybody's dealing, what's the biggest challenge? Everybody in the cattle industry, pig industry, everywhere, what's the biggest challenge we all have? The people game. I mean, it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary times. And we're working, our female has an incredible disposition. And what we're working on is an initiative we call 14-14-21 to make her more independent. One of the things I've said forever about the pig business and the pig is that species needs us more than any other species. The good news is the pig needs us. The bad news is the pig needs us. The pig needs us 7 days a week, and she needs us a lot. We are working on a program we call 14-14-21, where she can raise 14 pigs that weigh 14 pounds at 21 days. And what's really exciting about the genetics business, that hope's no good plan. We mathematically know exactly what year we get there. And so it's not hope, and we will be there in about 6 more years at the commercial level. So that's really, really an exciting thing, to put a plan together in the genetics business and know you're going to drive it to our farm in a specific period of time. That, you know, that is awesome. That is awesome stuff. And that's not Star Wars technology. That's using technology to enhance the game of mathematics of genetic improvement. Today, it is the most important driver for a sow farm is pigs out the door. We have, I'm amazed at this, but we have assets that we built in 1995, 96, 97, 5,200 sow farms. Those assets are exactly the same today. We've updated them and so forth, but those assets in 1996, 97 weaned 110,000 pigs, okay? Guess what we're doing out of those assets today? We have most of them weaning over 160,000 pigs 25 years later. So we've improved over 50,000 pigs with the same number of sows, same number of people, same assets. Extraordinary biological, and there's people there's a whole lot of factors, but the driver's genetics to when you can make that happen. So 14-14-21, and the biological model is really focused on 3 things: litter size, the quality, and the maternal environment. We put in about 15 years a measurement called LP5, live pig at 5 days. And the reason why we put that in is that we don't want more pigs born. We have way too many pigs born. So we are focused on getting more teats on the sow, and we're focused on totally on more birth weight, bigger wean weight, and weaning more pigs, not birthing more pigs. I think it's the one thing in the pig business everybody can agree on is that if you have big pigs, the better your birth weight, the faster they're going to get to market. That's probably the one thing that everybody can agree on. I'll ask you this question. It's kind of a teaser, kind of a fun thing. So if you're a baby pig being born today on a farm, and let's say you've got 6, you're one of 17. Do you want to be the first pig born, or do you want to be the biggest pig of the litter being born? So just kind of think of yourself as a baby pig, going to survive on a mom. Do you want to be, and you're one of 17, do you want to be the biggest in the litter or the firstborn? Okay. So for those of you who said you want to be firstborn, what's most important to you? Colostrum. So really, really fascinating. So if you think about it, if you're the biggest pig, and you're number 17, and it took your litter mates have had a 2.5-hour gain on you, you might have a challenge. Now we have practices in place to split suckle and do a lot of things, but today it's more difficult than ever. We can execute it, but where we split suckle and do things. But as I say, the biggest thing is trying to, you can't fool Mother Nature. So there's a lot of dynamics in terms of how to maximize the genetic and biological potential. So if you, and so everybody understands, you know, that when it's really cold out and those baby calves hit the ground, they got to be warm, but they also got to be able to, they also got to get colostrum or they don't have much of a chance. And then the maternal environment. Our sow has a disposition that she is such an awesome mom. She, guess basically to make her the best milking mom, guess what we have to do with her? we have to get them up 3 times a day so they eat more, because otherwise they'll just a lot of times stay down and just keep milking and milking to take care of the pigs. So best way for a pig to milk, a sow to milk, produce the most milk, what's a sow got to do? Got to eat a lot of feed, just like a dairy cow. The more and a whole lot into that whole process. Some of it's genetic, a lot of it's production practices. So our program, maternally, we have to improve by 0.3 pigs per year, 0.05 birth weight, and a wean weight at 0.15. And these are, these are timelines to reach. And like I say, we know we're going to be in 9 years, we're going to be at the 14-14-21. So we're excited about that. Maybe to give, this would be, didn't have time to update it, but this would be where we've had 55,000 sows for a period of time and measured as we've grown here recently. Didn't put that data in, but that was through 19, and you can see, we call grade transfers per litter in yellow, that's pigs weaned. So you can see from 14, we went to 1105 to in 19, 12.31. And the maximum genetic potential increase is 0.3. We're taking it at a commercial system with 55,000 sows, which is a fair amount of noise. We're executing at a 0.25. That's pretty exciting. That's we think we can play ball with anybody being able to do that. As you can see here, total born per litter running in that 16 today in 2021, June 21 of 21. Our system across the board last week was right, probably total 16.9. We had half the farms 17 and above, and the number born alive, we had all farms over 15 too. So and some of that's production practices of minimizing stillborns. So in the end, I think what's really, really important to compete is remembering who we work with and who we work for. And maybe the thing I wanted to give kudos to everybody in this room, and maybe to try to raise to a level of understanding. I'm a believer in agriculture. I'm a believer in livestock production. I'm a believer that that is the solution to all of our rural economies, that if we export a bushel of corn out of our county, out of our state, or out of our country, we're giving too much topsoil away. That the solution is to continue to compete, because we are the best in the world at it. We can compete with anybody. And so your impacts, your work has an incredible impact on all the communities in this country that are involved in live cattle, pig, and livestock. It's just really a big deal. And sometimes we can get in our war zone and work so hard and maybe not grab a hold of the big picture. But your innovation, your work, it really has a wide range. I think it's really important that we figure out and help solve industry problems. But I will say this, it's really important that we don't create problems. Sometimes we think a problem is a problem and it's really not a problem. It's important. Does that make sense? I think it's really important that we stay in the big picture and don't get wrapped up in a problem, thinking a problem's a problem and it's not. It's a fine line there. Really important today more than ever to keep things as simple as you possibly can. And our definition of keeping it simple as possible is when it's a blizzard, when it's really a bad day out, can we execute that? And if we can't, we probably shouldn't do it. That process probably shouldn't be done because it's not going to be executed with enough discipline at a high enough level to make a difference. Whatever we're doing, I think the other thing that makes a producer-owned, a family-owned genetic supplier different is we do not worry about quarterly earnings. We don't worry about shareholders. We are making decisions for the long haul. My two oldest children have been back in our business for 14 and 12 years. Thank God they take after their mother. They're really, really brilliant in their leadership and what they're doing, and where they're going to take our business just is in awe to me, and the team of people that they are attracting. So we're in it for the long haul. Lots of people have tried to buy us. We're not for sale. We're in it for the long haul to have multi-generational success. And if any of you have influence with your family or other people's families, that's something that's really important. It's really, really important. There's been enough consolidation. Family businesses have to stay successful, and they have to have discipline to start sitting down with people to figure that out. Really, really important. I'm a believer every one of us can create our future. And I think in the genetics business of the pig side, the best pig always wins. I'm assuming the best bull always wins too. Thank you very, very much for your attention and for having me. It was a really great experience. Thank you. And maybe the most important thing of all, right? Sometimes we can tend to forget about the ones that we love the most. So most important reason why we do what we do is our families. So that's my family there. Thank you.